welcome to episode number 8 of the Steam Machine Podcast. My name is Dalton, and joining me, as always, is my good buddy.
This is Ryan.
And this week we are covering part 2 of Ys 7.
Part 2.
We wrapped up the second half of the game over this week, but before we get to that, we put out there on Facebook that we wanted some questions from the listeners to kind of start developing that bond between them.
Yeah, I don't think I got any questions directed towards me personally on Facebook, but I know you got a lot from what you've been telling me.
Yeah, I got a bunch of them, man, and I put them aside. There's a lot of them that are for both of us. I will say I know some of them, it'll probably be easier for me to answer than you.
Yeah.
Because you are the casual of the two of us.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and start it off with a question from Tyler Holland, who is Tyler from Tyler and Dave Play Old Games.
Oh.
Which is a great show.
Celebrity, huh?
Yeah. An internet celebrity has joined the midst of the listeners. Favorite fighting game franchise and why? And this will lead us to another question that I have, but we'll go for this one first.
Ooh. Favorite fighting game franchise? See, that's a tough one, because being the casual gamer, I've played most of them, but I've never been like a dedicated player on like any specific series. I do enjoy Mortal Kombat. I do enjoy some aspects of Street Fighter, Virtua Fighter, Tekken, stuff like that. But if I had to pick just based on my preferences for, say, like pop culture and what kind of game that I would be really interested in playing, I'm going to go ahead and say Injustice. And that's because you get to beat the shit out of everyone, like each other, as DC superheroes that everyone knows. Like,
yeah. Injustice is a great game, man. I haven't played the second one, but I believe the first one's on our list.
Yeah, we have the first one.
Yeah, it's fantastic. If I had to choose a fighting franchise, God, it's so hard. The first fighting game I ever really got into was on PlayStation 1. It was Toe Ball number 1. And that game was fantastic. And then I got Tekken 2 and became a Tekken player for a long time.
Yeah.
I always really liked Mortal Kombat Trilogy, but I didn't really get into Mortal Kombat hardcore until I think Armageddon came out. And since then, I've been a Mortal Kombat player. But
see, like I'm the reverse. I stopped playing at like Mortal Kombat 3. Like I played 1, 2, and 3, but didn't really pick up any of the older titles or like newer titles. I mean, like,
well, we have 1, 2, and 3, and some of the newer titles on our list, so you're gonna have to play them eventually.
Yeah, that's cool.
But
that's cool.
My heart lies with Soul Calibur.
Soul Calibur, yeah, that's a pretty good series too.
I love Soul Calibur. I'm one of the few people in the world I could give a fuck about Street Fighter.
Yeah, I enjoy like the storyline aspect of Street Fighter, how it has like a manga and animes to go along with it. Like I know they've done some stuff with like Mortal Kombat, but Street Fighter has been like an entire universe built around like the video game. Like I guess there's some canonical storyline to it that isn't played out in the game but goes along with like some mangas or comics. Like
yeah, totally. I can get behind that. You know, I think there's a few different games that I like that are fighting games that are tied in with animes. The Naruto fighting games are fantastic.
Yeah.
And then the DBZ games are hit and miss, but a lot of them are pretty good.
Yeah. I think another fighting franchise that I can really get down with is Super Smash Brothers. Having all the Nintendo.
Yeah, but I don't know if I would consider that a fighting game. Like that's more like of a party brawl. I don't know how to describe it, but I don't know if I would consider that a true fighting game. That could be a question for our listeners.
Yeah, fair enough.
Do you think Smash Bros is an actual fighting game? But this leads to another question that we got asked.
Yeah.
By Mr. John Nitty, who I'm pretty sure is a competitive fighting game player.
Ooh.
And he says, do you guys play fighting games at a higher level? And if not, I have a question that would apply to you because I've been wanting to know this for a very long time. What do you guys want in a fighting game as non-competitive players? More modes, tutorials, costume editors? What does a good fighting game look like to you? He's always been curious as to what the perfect fighting game to both competitive and non-competitive audiences would look like.
The super casual gamer, I'm a button masher, so like long intricate combos, not my thing. Like if you don't have to make like a full on game, just like super easy combos, but games that do get like high level competitions going and shit like that, give us casual gamers like the option to turn on like a one button combo feature. Like,
Sort of like the newer Mortal Kombat's have a thing, and I think you have to pay money to unlock it, which is kind of shitty. But there's one button fatalities.
yeah,
Instead of having to do the whole combo for it, you just stand
yeah,
where you need to stand and hit a button, and it does
yeah. So I am a professional button masher. I'm like casual competitive. I will get angry at the TV screen if I lose, or like,
it. One of the reasons I gravitate towards Soul Calibur is because I'm able to create my own character.
yeah, that's
I love,
understandable.
I love the characters in the game already, and I main as I think Raphael is his name. It's the guy with the rapier. God, I couldn't think of that for a second.
Yeah,
But I just have this thing. I guess it's from my love of RPG games of being able to create your character in most Western RPGs that
mm,
I just developed a love for that. So being able to go into a fighting game and kind of have a personal touch as to who you were fighting as, instead of choosing a character that you like, but you don't have a connection with, you didn't make that,
yeah,
if
that's
that makes
fair.
any sense. As far as modes, going back to Tobal #1 on PlayStation, they had I think it was called Quest mode, where you would roam these hallways and do different little things, but you would get to encounters and have to do a fight. Then it would go to like normal, and then you would battle, and then you'd go back to roaming the hallways and get the bosses and things like that.
Okay.
And since then, Soul Calibur has done similar things. Like I know in Soul Calibur 5 or 6 or whatever it is that I have, I think it's 6. Um, there's like a quest mode where you go around this big map and you get into fights in different points, and there's story arcs, and you know that kind of stuff is cool to me. Just give it a little story. I want a fighting game with story,
Yeah,
not just drop me in. Here's some characters. Learn how to get good. Beat up your friends.
yeah, I see that.
Because I play them a lot alone.
Yeah,
Like so
same. Like,
I need something that will really hook me, and difficulty is not always what hooks me.
yeah, for sure.
Because I'm absolutely like you that if I get super frustrated, then I'm just gonna quit. I promise the listeners there will be at least one game on this list where one of us rage quits and refuses to finish that motherfucker.
Yeah, that was almost me. That was almost me with the ending of the Gamer E7. Like
Yeah,
that was very close to being me. Like,
I almost did it on Corpse Party.
yeah,
I didn't even, we didn't beat it, so it was just like, yeah, this game was terrible. Anyway, E7 not terrible. Just wanted to clarify that.
yeah,
Okay, so let me take that question. I hope we answered it enough for you, John. I just, customization, good story, fluid fighting. I don't want it to be like super stiff or janky. I kind of like being able to flow,
yeah,
almost like how the boxing games like flow really well. Although I know that's a completely different style. Soul Calibur flows really well. Tekken flows really well.
yeah,
Um, there are a couple of fighting games that are kind of more obscure that we have in our list that I've loaded up and played that are a little janky, but it'll be interesting when we get to them. All right, so up next, let's do another one from Tyler. What is the worst PC port of a game from a console, and why?
See, I can't answer this question. If we're going just based off my experience, it's going to be Corpse Party because that game was just awful. Like,
That counts though.
why did you
That
port this game? Because this game was just garbage.
I mean that counts. That is a port.
Yeah,
I would say from I had to do some reading because I've played a few of them, but from what I read, Arkham Knight is terrible on PC.
yeah.
Um, and I think they've patched it a little bit to make it work better. But when it first released, apparently, like even on high end systems, it would just lag
No, I was
like
having some
crazy.
issues with that on my end with E7, like just
Yeah.
crazy. Like the frame rates would just drop, and it was a lag, sometimes like random freezing. Like,
And again, E7 was a port,
yeah,
So it's these games that are not made with PC in mind that then have to be optimized for PC doesn't always go well.
yeah,
The one from my experience that I have marked down that's in our list, and I'm not looking forward to it, is Enslaved: Odyssey to the West. And the reason I say that is because the frame rate is forced. I think it's forced 30 frames per second or forced 60 frames per second. If it's forced 30, that's not great at all. If it's forced 60, that's not bad. I don't mind 60 frames a second. That's pretty much
Yeah.
normal. But the issue with Enslaved is that it uses an absurd amount of motion blur, and it will make you fucking sick.
Okay.
And it's terrible. It's fucking terrible. The game itself is great, but just the visuals really lack so much that it pretty much ruins the game.
Yeah.
It's sad. And then he went on to say he wanted to know the best port and why. Which I don't think you'll be able to answer at all. Because I don't think you've been wowed by a port that we've played yet. So
Arkham Asylum played pretty well.
Arkham Asylum did play well. I don't know if that was. I don't remember if that was released for console and then PC, or if it released for PC at the same time, though. It's the only problem. My personal experience is Kingdoms of Amalur: Reckoning.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic port. Beautiful graphics, smooth gameplay, frame rate perfect, visual trade-off there is none. It looks fantastic. It runs smoothly. And they're doing a remaster of that soon. Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning, which I am quite looking forward to. And another really good port that just came out, Persona 4 Golden.
Oh yeah,
runs like a fucking charm.
Cool.
And looks beautiful. It's upscaled from what it was on Vita, so obviously it's going to look a little better in the higher resolutions. But it plays smooth. Really looking forward to diving more into that eventually. All right, so Rome asked us, do you think Rockstar is becoming the next Bethesda? And I think what he means by that is how Rockstar is milking Grand Theft Auto 5 like Bethesda has been milking Skyrim for 10 fucking years.
Yes and no. They've been milking the shit out of it for sure. But maybe they are just using this time to actually put the effort into making the next installment that much better. Like instead of rushing games, say like sports titles like Madden or NHL, where they're out yearly, WWE, where they're out yearly, and the product gets worse and worse every single release. They are actually putting the time and effort into making sure the game is phenomenal. Like the graphics are right, there's no bugs, the play is smooth, that sort of stuff. Like
with the money that they have made from Grand Theft Auto Online and Red Dead Redemption 2 Online,
yeah,
they should be able to make some of the greatest games ever seen because of all the money that they have. So this medieval game that they're supposedly working on should be fan-fucking-tastic. Grand Theft Auto 6 should be fan-fucking-tastic whenever they released it.
Yeah.
The Rockstar doesn't fuck around, and they don't release... I don't remember the last time I played a Rockstar game that I was like, meh, it might have been L.A. Noire, and that was years ago.
Yeah.
But Bethesda has been just... I am like, what the fuck is going on with you guys? Like, Fallout 76 was fucking garbage. Like, who releases an online game that's super janky, but then it's like there's no NPCs, so there's no quests. You pretty much just roam around. And it's not a survival game, and it makes it hard for you to meet up and play with your friends. Then what the fuck is the point?
Maybe it's like their version of like No Man's Sky, where everything that is supposed to be involved in the game hasn't actually been developed yet, and they're just going to patch it in as they work on it.
They've added NPCs and stuff since, but it's because there was a fucking huge uproar about people being bored.
Well, it was same with No Man's Sky. It went from like 10 million downloads to one active player at one point. Like,
yeah, goddamn, No Man's Sky's so good though.
Yeah,
I personally liked No Man's Sky from the day it came out. I was a little disappointed, but I didn't hate it.
Like I thought it was great. Like this is a very cool concept. Like I had no problem with it. Yeah, all the features that were promised weren't there at first, but I was like, give it time. They'll probably add it in. They'll probably add it in. They're probably going to keep developing it. Like every planet you land on now is like pretty much uninhabited. But what's to say a couple patches from now that you don't run across like complete cyborg sentient robot planets and metropolis planets that are just like an entire city of humans or
Yeah,
alien species. Like
there's endless potential with
yeah,
No Man's Sky,
there really is.
and I just don't know if there's endless potential in Fallout 76. That's all,
Yeah,
because No Man's Sky is such a large scale compared to whatever the map size of Fallout 76, and that's nothing against Fallout 76 because that map is big for what
yeah,
it is. You know, I hope Bethesda comes out swinging with Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6
yeah.
for sure. Let's do a couple more, and if we don't get to your question on this episode, we will get to it next episode. We promise. But I'm enjoying answering these, so we might go ahead and go through all of them. I haven't decided yet.
Yeah.
Jay Jorgensen wants to know what are some of the best PC not ports RPGs, and is Septerra Core on that list? Now, I got this one. Septerra Core, I want to say is on that list, but I've never played it. But it is on our list to play eventually.
Okay.
So I know that game was developed for PC to
I don't
be
even I don't
like
even know what it is.
it's supposed to be like a console RPG, but on computer.
Yeah.
So I think it came out around the same time as like Final Fantasy VII, Star Ocean 2, like those types of games.
Yeah.
I think we would I would have to I'll do more research once that game comes up, but that has always been one I wanted to play.
The Sims. That's RPG, right?
Um,
I
maybe
love
like a
I love The
simulator
Sims, and
RPG. I
that
mean,
and
if you want to call The
that's
Sims an RPG, then yeah, I would count that one.
yeah. Like you create your character and everything, and then you just role play through life. I mean it. I guess it's more like a simulator than an RPG,
Yeah, but
but it does have like
great
milestones
fucking
and
game.
quests and stuff. Yeah, I love it, and that's PC original. Like
I would say The Witcher, because that's not a port that was created for PC and
yeah,
consoles and everything at the
yeah.
same time.
The Witcher was good. I
Those
like The
that
Witcher.
series is fantastic. The Elder Scrolls games, Daggerfall.
Yeah.
The sheer scope of Daggerfall for the time that it came out is absolutely incredible. The in-game map of Daggerfall is the actual size of Great Britain.
Oh.
Yeah. It's fucking huge. And it came out in like 96 or 97 or something like that for
Yeah.
PCs. So
That's a decent sized map.
for a
Like
Marvel, a decent sized map, it's
I
the
mean,
size of a
great.
fucking country.
Yeah, but it's.
They
I
used
mean,
a
if
lot of
you overlay Great Britain on some of the states, it's maybe like 5, 6 states, depending on what state you actually pick. Like it's.
oh, I get that, but then
Yeah.
take a map of a video game and lay it on a country.
Yeah. Well, if you did that with Hyrule in Breath of the Wild,
Woo!
how big would that be? Like,
I think that what is that Hyrule? It's like 9 square kilometers. No, it was a lot. That
it
map
was.
is huge.
It's huge.
But I know that Daggerfall, instead of like for the time, it was a lot of procedurally generated woods and things. As you
Gotcha.
ran through them, it would just come through. But like I
Yeah.
said, marvel of its time, absolutely.
Yeah.
Morrowind, I gotta throw Elder Scrolls Morrowind in there. The Gothic series, even though like we had some issues getting that running today, the Gothic series is a legendary RPG. In my opinion, everything I've ever read about computer RPGs, people are like, you need to play Gothic.
Yeah.
The game does not hold your hand at all.
Yeah. Diablo was PC, right?
Oh, fucking Diablo! Thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
God, they're so good, dude.
That's a good one too.
Diablo 2, especially. Diablo 3 is pretty good. I am really excited for Diablo 4.
I'm trying to remember some of
That
the
game
older
looks
games that I
fantastic.
used to play as like a
Uh,
child. Like I used to play like Mech Warrior, and I think that was PC. And what else did I play on PC? Alien vs Predator, I think is one.
oh, okay, yeah, I remember the Alien vs Predator game. God, that's forever ago.
Yeah,
Um,
that's how old I am. Like,
Pillars of Eternity. Those series are cool.
yeah,
They were actually crowdfunded because it was basically these people were like, "Hey, we're gonna make a computer RPG that's old school style where you click to move and things like that, but we're gonna do it based on D&D and some other stuff, and people crowdfunded the shit out of it, so they made it, and it was really good. So I'd probably go, those style of games. Any of those Planescape Torment, it's on our list.
Yeah.
Apparently one of the greatest games ever made. I've never played it. I shouldn't say that. I've played some of it. I've never beaten it. So, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
There are so many RPGs on our list that, like I think it's Wizardry 8 is like 89 hours. There's 90 something hours. It's insane. There's gonna be some of these.
I know we got a lot of RPGs on our list because you're an RPG kind of guy. But...
I am, man. I'm all about the story. You know me. All right. Gabe Van Glider asks, "Are we playing Phantasy Star Online 2, or do you plan on playing it?" And I told him I would answer this because I have it downloaded. I have it installed on my computer. But I have not dove into it yet because it is run through the Microsoft Store, and it apparently is absolute trash. Not the game, the Microsoft Store. The game is perfectly fine, but because it runs through the Microsoft Store, it's having this thing where when people play the game and they do it for whatever, if you restart or turn your computer off and turn your computer back on, the game has deleted itself. You have to reinstall the whole 70 gigs or whatever again.
Yeah.
And that could eat through my internet.
Yeah, no,
so
for sure.
I would rather wait until that gets fixed or until it gets released on Steam, because fuck the Microsoft Store. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why they haven't picked up. Fucking Microsoft should know what they're doing. They should fix that shit.
They're more focused on their console.
But to answer you, Gabe, I absolutely want to play Phantasy Star Online 2. I am just waiting for it to kind of sort itself out or come to PS4. And that way I'll just play it on PS4.
Yeah.
Because I think right now it's just on Xbox and PC. So it might not ever come to PS4. I really don't know. All right. There's a question for me that I'm going to go ahead and get out of the way. Our buddy James Fisher from the JRPG Report asked me, "Dalton, do you still have a problem with finishing games?" And this is in reference to I was on his show.
Yes.
And I told him that I had an issue with finishing games, and I didn't really know how to put it into words. And it was like it was meant to be. I'm listening to an old Factory Sealed episode last night, and Eric starts talking about that. He's one of the hosts of Factory Sealed. That he had never beaten Dark Cloud 2, and it was because he felt like once he beat it, he would never go back to it, and he enjoyed playing it so much that he just never beat it. That way he would always have a reason to be like, I need to beat Dark Cloud, but then he would go back and play it and decide not to beat it.
Yeah.
For the same reason. And I related to that so fucking hard because that's what I've always done with Final Fantasy VIII. I always get to the last castle in Final Fantasy VIII and stop. And it's just, I don't know why. And it's just because, I guess, I want to have a reason to be able to go back and play it again without knowing the ending and all.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Outside of this podcast,
well, I was about to say,
I've never finished like 100% of the games I start.
It's hard, man.
I casual gamer. I get distracted. I have a 1-year-old who craves attention. Like my gaming time is very few and far between. But since we started this podcast, I've probably beat more games doing this show than I have since I was a kid.
Yeah, before we started this show, when I was up visiting you, I beat Fairy Fencer F Advent Dark Force on my Switch, and then since then, being back here, I think I beat Hyperdimension Neptunia Rebirth 1, and that's it until we started the show. And then I've actually been like, all right, well, I need to finish these games so we can talk about them.
Yeah.
So this show is helping me cure myself of that, which I think is why James asked that question in the first place.
Yeah, I have a feeling the show is going to turn me more away from being a casual gamer into not like an avid gamer, but somebody who actually looks to complete the game before moving on to another one.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I wouldn't say that's a bad thing because now you're going to be able to sit down and get the whole aspect of the game, and I, myself included. Instead of just snipping it off and being like, well, I'll finish it eventually. It's kind of like, well, I might as well see this thing through to the end.
Yeah.
So James's other question is, do we think that next-gen console games will be $70?
Absolutely. At a minimum. And it depends on I would say they're going to cost more than $70, like what they're doing with the Final Fantasy VII remake and releasing it in parts.
Yeah.
Because the remake that came out now is only part one of like I think an estimated like 6 parts,
Yeah.
and those are going to
But
run like $60, $70 a piece. So you're paying like close to $400 for a complete game by the time it's all said and done. Like
yeah, but they took Final Fantasy VII and really fleshed it out
they did. This
because
part one only plays what through disc one, and it's like 50 hours of gameplay. Like
it's not even the whole disc one. I don't think. I think it's just you play through Midgar,
yeah,
and they fleshed out Midgar to be an entire fucking game, which is insane. And then like
yeah.
when you're leaving Midgar, I think is the end of that. And they've changed some stuff. I've heard some weird things about the Final Fantasy VII remake.
I have it on the PlayStation 4, and I probably have about 10, 12 hours into it, and I'm not even close to like even being done. Like,
Yeah,
and
I
but
just
I haven't touched it, and for I haven't touched it since I like got it. Like,
I heard there's some story changes type things that people are a little iffy about. But the way I look at it, man, is Square Enix. I'll say 9 times out of 10 knows what they're doing. So
yeah.
I'll give it faith. But
But
as far
if
as
they're if the console companies are worried about trying to keep the cost of the console down, they are definitely going to raise the price on the games themselves.
oh yeah, that's exactly I forget
Yeah,
I think it's the popcorn method. No,
yeah,
it's the razor method, the razor method, where companies take a loss on selling you the actual razor, but they make their money on blades.
yeah, something like that.
So it's
Um,
selling your console at a loss, but making your money back on games. Now, do you remember back like I think it was Super Nintendo days? Like some games would be $50, some games would be $90, some games would be $110. It depended on the game and how
it
long it was
depended,
on.
yeah, it depended on the game, it depended on the publisher, that sort of thing.
And
Like
I feel like that.
major titles were always more expensive than say like an indie game. Like,
Yeah, I mean
um,
that's the same today, except now pricing has been pretty much
yeah,
stagnated at $59.99. But I
one
totally see it going up to $69.99,
yeah,
maybe.
one thing I can see them doing is doing like 69.99 for hard copies and doing like 59.99 for digital download only.
And see, that's the way I always thought. I think it's always should have been.
Because
Is that
yeah,
digital games should be cheaper because you're not having to put out the physical media. You're just paying
I
for a
think
fucking
this will
license.
be the last generation of consoles to actually have like physical copies of things because it saves them so much money just doing direct digital download than
Yeah.
manufacturing the hard copies of the games along with the printing the books and the artwork and the cover art and paying for the the cases like
Not to mention that all these indie companies and stuff don't have the money to do that, but
yeah
they have the money to distribute their game on Steam
yeah and
or
then
GOG or
with the PlayStation 5 and the newest Xbox console offering digital only versions of the console with no game slot. Like this is just the start of it. Eventually, we're going to see no hard copies of games.
yeah. And I mean, PC's been doing that forever.
Yeah, I'm
I
okay
don't
with that. I'm okay
I
with
don't
that.
remember
A
the
lot
last
of
time I bought a game for PC in a fucking
yeah,
box. It was probably Flat Out back there,
yeah,
or Counter Strike. You know what I mean? It's been
yeah.
fucking forever.
It's like I'm 100% okay with that. Like a lot of video game, like I'm a collector. I collect a lot of shit. Like, but video games very rarely hold any value. You have to have like a specific title that is in like high demand, and know that a lot of them weren't printed or like manufactured when it was released.
But yeah, I hope we covered your question, James. And if we didn't, you can take it up with me.
Yeah.
All right, up next, Santos Lopez. What are some games that you would love to see remastered? Let's go three apiece, if you got three.
Oh, remastered games. You go
So
first. I'm gonna have to think about this.
me, all right. I would like to see a remaster of Persona 2. Now, Persona 2 is broken up into 2 parts: Innocent Sin, Eternal Punishment. Eternal Punishment came out for PlayStation 1 in America, which is weird. We got part 2 first back then. So then they did re releases or remasters for PSP, and they released Innocent Sin over here, but they didn't release Eternal Punishment. So it's like
Mhm.
you have to play part 1 on PSP and then go and play part 2 on PS1. I would like to see them combine those and just release it as a new game for like PS4, PS5, whatever the
Yeah.
fuck, Switch, whatever. I would love to see Jak and Daxter get the treatment that Crash Bandicoot and Ratchet and Clank and Spyro got. Jak and Daxter is phenomenal,
Yeah.
and I don't think that game, the series, gets enough love, especially the first game. Dude, I would love to play a remaster of that. Dude, just take all my money, Naughty Dog, to just make that.
Yeah.
I think it was Naughty Dog that made Jak and Daxter. I could be wrong. Star Ocean: The Second Story.
Mhm.
I think that deserves a remake. Um, you could even do it in the vein that they remade the first game and released it on Switch. Just tidy it up, make it pretty,
Yeah.
keep it the same graphics. You don't have to do the Troll Trials of Mana where you remake the entire game.
Yeah.
If you're just talking remasters, yeah, man, remaster Star Ocean 2 so I can play that shit. It's got over 100 different endings,
Yeah.
so it would be cool.
Like, I don't even know what games. Like, I'm probably gonna have to delve deep into my childhood to like think of games that I used to play a lot of that I would like to see. Like Duke Nukem for the 64 is probably one I would like to see
That
because
would be sweet.
the last Duke Nukem title they released wasn't that great, and
Yeah,
the 64 one was great. Let's see something like that. Um,
that would be cool.
Turok Dinosaur Hunter.
Now there was a remake or a remaster type thing on Xbox of Turok, but I would
Yeah,
like to see them do it again
yeah,
nowadays and really bring it up to scale. I think that could be sweet.
yeah. And then
That'd be cool.
the 64 was my console of my childhood. That's what I played a lot. So like pretty much every game I'm gonna touch is probably from that console. Like
Nothing wrong with that.
another one I'd probably like to see redone, remastered is Perfect Dark.
Never played that. Always heard really, really good things about it. Never played it.
I liked that one a lot. That was a really good game.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
All right. So Thomas E. Lee wants to know how long in the forest did it take for you to devolve into cannibalism? So I just wanted to go ahead and throw out there. I'm not leaving you out, but we haven't played that yet.
I haven't played that yet, but if it was realistic, probably 5 minutes.
It's like, all right, we're lost. Who the fuck are we eating first?
Yeah, it's like
Just
that's it.
dive right
Like,
into
which
it.
one of you is the least useful in a survival scenario? Which one of you is going to tie us down and potentially ruin everything? Your food, like, it's already picked out.
I'm gonna be
Like,
like, look, I'm a little blubbery. I don't think you'd like that. If you need fat for burning things, I can't blame you guys. But yeah, I don't know if I'd eat.
good marbling on those steaks.
Yeah, you'd have to cut down to get to them though. So Matt Gentile, what was our favorite system?
And Nintendo 64.
His are Super Nintendo and PS2. Yours is a Nintendo 64.
Nintendo 64. Like it it was great. I played a lot of good games on the Sega Genesis. I played a lot of good games on the Super Nintendo. There's a lot of games that are super nostalgic to me from like the NES system. But the Nintendo 64 was like game changing with the local 4 multiplayer option and some of the accessories they had on there, like the Rumble Pack and everything like that. It just fucking that system ruled. It still rules.
See, I was not a Nintendo kid growing up. I mean, I had Nintendo consoles,
Yeah,
but I really got deep into video games with the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2. So
I
those have always been
yeah
my favorites.
I played a lot on the PlayStation 1, like, and the PlayStation 2 I had for a while. Skipped 3, have the 4, have the Switch. I absolutely love the Switch as a console too.
Yeah,
Like,
the
everything
Switch is
about the
really
Switch is
phenomenal.
amazing. But again, like, all of my childhood was pretty much spent on that Nintendo 64. And it,
And I feel like that's what everyone bases their favorite on. It's like, what did you play when you were a kid? So
yeah,
obviously, if that's what you had, that is probably going to be your favorite. A lot of people's
yeah,
answers are Super Nintendo
yeah,
because the Super Nintendo had so many good games on it. I
yeah,
didn't have a Super Nintendo until much later in life. I
yeah,
don't I don't even know if that one that I have behind me works. I don't have the cords for it. I've been looking for cords for Super Nintendos forever at like thrift stores and stuff. Haven't found any,
yeah.
but all right. Well, we got a couple more here. Um, man, I hope I say your name right, brother. I hope I say your name right. Isiva Sonaru asked, "What do you think is the best multiplayer horror games of 2019, in 2020?
See, I don't know. I can't answer that question.
I made a list of ones that I could think of
If
off the
I'm gonna
top of my
go on
head.
just games that I know that are multiplayer, like survival horror or horror style multiplayer games, the only title that really comes to mind is Left 4 Dead, and I loved it. Like
I have Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 on this list because they always count, in my
I
opinion.
I loved Left 4 Dead 1. Like it was fantastic.
Yeah,
Like
dude,
the
and
first time I ever played it and first time I ran across that witch, like had to turn the lights on. Like I was like absolutely not. My character is stopping right here and I'm going across the room to turn on the light because I am not about to have a jump scare. Like I don't do well with horror themed anything. Horror movies trigger me sometimes. Some movies give me panic attacks. Like I'm not gonna lie. Uh,
it happens, man. It happens.
Recently bought Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Started it up just to give it a playthrough, like just a quick play to see how it is or whatever. I had to turn it off 30 minutes into it because my fucking anxiety spiked. Like I didn't even encounter the first like enemy. Like just the element of how it is put together and how it plays was terrifying in my from my point of view.
Yeah,
Like
man.
I
Resident Evil knows what they're doing. Those guys, for
yeah,
sure. But
apparently like
Left 4 Dead was so good because it was made by Valve, in my opinion. And Valve, I feel like everything I've ever played by Valve is fantastic.
yeah,
You got Portal done
Portal
by
was good.
Valve.
Yeah.
You got Counter Strike, I believe. Um, Half Life.
Yeah.
All these series, Team Fortress.
Yeah.
Basically what Steam started as
Yeah.
was a fucking place to play Valve games.
And like I guess it also like depends on your definition of horror because you bring up Portal. Portal to me is a terrifying fucking storyline. You'd like just wake up and you're being held by an AI system and have to try to find your way out. Like no idea where you are, no idea like what the hell's going on. That's absolutely a terrifying scenario. Like
Fuck
if
yeah,
that
it
was
is.
me, I'd probably give up and just accept my fate. Like, nope, it's like I'm done. Like,
Not only do you wake up in a room with a fucking sentient AI talking to you and everything, and it's trying to kill you the entire time,
yeah,
it just gives you a multi-dimensional gun. You're just like, oh, I didn't realize that these were a fucking
yeah,
thing.
this technology exists and this AI is sentient and trying to kill me. That's like one of my real life nightmare scenarios. Like the rise of the machines, the Terminator Skynet coming true. Like
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely not. Like
And it's
I
not
would,
far fetched, which is
yeah.
the
For
crazy part.
me, Portal is a horror game as well. Like
So the ones that I could think of from memory of just things that I've seen recently on Steam and videos that I've watched were, as of course, Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, Dead by Daylight, which is the running from the serial. One of you plays the serial killer, the other one plays
yeah,
the five people, and you run away from. Yeah.
yeah,
The Forest, which is that game that Tom brought up.
yeah.
Depth, which is a game where one of you plays as a shark and the other ones play as divers.
Oh, that sounds fucking awesome.
Yeah, dude, it looks pretty fucking intense. And those
Isn't
and then and
is
like I said, Left 4
Until
Dead.
Dawn one of those horror games?
So Until Dawn is a horror game, but it's not a multiplayer horror game.
Oh,
It's,
okay,
it's
okay.
more of like a choose your decision movie type
Yeah,
thing, but
the
with really
Cor-
good graphics.
Corinne had me buy that for her on the PlayStation, and she picks it up every now and then, but I don't know what kind of game it is. And every time she goes to play it, she's like, "This is a game that you probably won't want to sit down and watch me play."
Yeah, probably not, dude. There's some gruesome shit in that. Okay, we got three questions left. So Hans, our friend Hans, asked us, "Have we finally reached the end for loot boxes, with laws spreading about them throughout the world? And what will become the next predatory money scheme the AAA developers will come up with?"
They've already started it, and it's releasing the titles in parts, like the Final Fantasy VII remake. Like,
Yeah, I can say that. Or DLC, day one DLC
yeah,
drives me
and
fucking
with like
nuts.
loot boxes getting shut down in other parts of the America is so fucking capitalist. Like, I don't think they will ever get banned here. It's
Oh
just
no.
another form of gambling. Like,
Yeah.
these people literally get addicted to buying DLC for games, whether it's like console based or even mobile games. Like I work with somebody who has spent close to like $15,000 on a fucking mobile game. Like,
Fucking A.
yeah, yeah, for real. Like, I don't know how she even allowed it to get that high, but she did.
Well, yeah. So I think basically what we're getting at is microtransactions are going to be the next loot box. And I mean, they're not going anywhere. There are games. There are some companies that refuse to put microtransactions in their games, but there are
Yeah,
other companies who are absolutely all about microtransactions.
yeah,
And there
and
are a couple free-to-play MMOs that I put in our list just so we can talk about that when it comes to time. That like some of them are seriously microtransaction full.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. And like, say that stuff does get shut down over here in the States, like, it the next version of that is going to be releasing the game in parts, like for sure. Like,
Totally.
this is our title, and we want it to be so good, we're only going to release it like one piece at a time. And if you want to play the entire game to completion, you're going to have to spend $400, $500
Well,
on the whole game.
there
You
is
know?
some of that now with games that release in chapters, but most of those games are like, chapter one will be $5, chapter two will
Yeah,
be $5, and it
yeah,
equals up to being about $40,
yeah.
whatever.
It's like a lot of the Telltale games were released like that,
Yeah,
and
and
but
that's
their price
fine.
tag was lower. I think like the initial chapter one was like $20, and then if you signed up for like the season pass or whatever, each additional chapter release was like $5. Like,
Yeah. Well, I think if you did season pass, you usually got it for free
yeah,
because you were paying for it up front with like a little bit of a discount. But
yeah,
even still, it equals, and if you wait a little while after those games come out, you can get a collector's edition type thing that comes with all of them. You know,
yeah,
so it just depends on, I guess, how long you want to wait
yeah.
with
But
that. But
like, Final Fantasy VII Remake is definitely the start of the new way of milking money for a complete game.
so one last question from Mr. Tyler Holland, and then I'm saving another question for last because it will, I think, bring up a good conversation. But this one, I don't know if you'll be able to answer this, but I want to try. Build a 5-person party from the Final Fantasy games.
Does it have to be like the protagonist that you play, or can it just be anybody? And like, what is the party for?
Well, I would assume that the party is for
If it's
just like
just,
an RPG type situation. And I don't know. We'll say yes. It has to be party members that you have played as in Final Fantasy that you can combine to make the ultimate party.
I'm gonna go Squall, Sephiroth, Barrett, Vivi, and Tifa.
Solid, solid. I would go Squall, Zell, Yuna, Vivi, and Cecil. I think that's his name, Cecil, the Dragoon guy from 4. I think that's it. But get some heavy hitters in there. You got
Yeah,
Yuna who can heal and also summon. Vivi fucking throwing spells.
yeah,
Got Zell and Squall of course doing damage, and Cecil doing damage as well.
yeah.
I think that would be good. Um, God, there's so many different fucking combinations that you could have.
There really is a lot, and there's some titles in the Final Fantasy line that I haven't even touched yet. So I'm just going off the games that I played the most, really. Like,
Yeah. All right, and our final question for the week, and then we're going to get to E7. Melody Allegretto asks, console DRM versus PC DRM. What is your opinion of the longevity of PC game licenses versus console licenses in terms of console owners having to repurchase titles after upgrading hardware, whereas PC players keep their titles for life regardless of hardware upgrades? So basically, when you buy a digital game, you are buying the rights to own that, right?
yeah,
So DRM is like on Steam. When me and you are playing one of my Steam games, I have to go offline in order for you to be able to play it,
yeah,
right? So the way GOG works is on Good Old Games, which is GOG, they do DRM free, which means I can buy the game and then do whatever the fuck I want with it. Like, I own it. So if I buy it and then want to send it to you, that's perfectly legal. You know what I mean?
as long as you're not making money off of it. Like that
Yeah,
shouldn't
yeah,
be an
exactly,
issue. Like
exactly.
that'd
It's
be like me
so
letting you borrow a movie to watch. Like
exactly, or
yeah,
just handing you a physical copy of the game, like here, play this and give it back to me whenever.
yeah,
Same kind of concept. Now, PC, you just upgrade your hardware as it goes along, but you still have access to all of this library of games. I think what she's asking is how how do we compare that to a console? Say, I've got Red Dead Redemption 1 on PC on PS3,
yeah,
right? But it's locked behind that PS3.
yeah.
I would have to
Well, aren't rumors saying that the PS5 is going to be backwards compatible?
backwards
Like,
compatible with PS4. That's it.
I thought it went all the way back to the PS1.
No, I
Like,
don't believe so. Although I think that they are working on ways to have almost like how Nintendo does with their online system with the Nintendo and Super Nintendo games. I think PlayStation's working on something along those lines because I
okay,
know on PS4, if you do that PlayStation Now or whatever it is,
yeah,
that you can stream and play PS3 games through that are on
okay,
that subscription, or you can buy certain games on the PlayStation Store that are older that have been up-res. Like I think I have Dark Cloud 2 and
yeah.
Jak and Daxter on the PS4. So
Well, until the consoles get like that backwards compatibility thing figured out, really, PC is always going to be, I guess, the better option.
yeah, but personally, I fucking hate DRM. I think it's stupid. I think if you buy a game and you want to give it to your friend to let them play it, that you should be able to fucking do that. Um, it's one reason that I've thought about switching to using or getting games from GOG and then just launching them through Steam or within GOG
Yeah.
Galaxy or whatever. Just because it's DRM is such a pain in the ass.
I get that, but
You know.
these companies they work so hard on these games. They want their money. Like,
No, I get that. I get
yeah,
that too.
yeah,
I understand, but there are certain companies and games that's like they seem so money hungry that I don't even want to buy their games. Like I would rather fucking go see Mr. Bay and get it.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like EA, holy microtransactions and everything.
yeah, pretty much.
Fucking Batman. You know what I'm saying?
Well, even like the NHL game, if you wanted to play like the multiplayer, you have to buy what the equipment bags, what the loot boxes, microtransactions to upgrade your skaters and your equipment and shit like that. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
The Ultimate Team or whatever it is.
yeah.
You know what you're talking about? Yeah,
It's like they even do that with all of their sports games on EA. Like you can get the basic stripped down version of like Madden or NHL with none of like the added features, but if you want to get like the deluxe edition that gives you loot packs to upgrade your ultimate teams and shit, you're paying like $120 for the game at drop at release. Like,
yeah, and that's not counting having to re-up whatever special currency there is.
yeah,
Well, all right, man. That wraps up listener questions. I think that was a very good first time question segment.
yeah,
I think it went pretty well.
yeah.
And that leads us to part two of Ease 7.
This
And
game took a wild twist. I'm just gonna say that, like right now.
took a
Like,
wild twist and got fucking hard, son.
yeah, it did.
Like,
The,
this game was real easy up until this point.
I know we were talking about it in part one, but up until that midway point, I got bored with the game. And then once we hit that halfway point and that storyline changed, this was an entirely different game.
Oh, absolutely.
This
Absolutely.
game got, like you said, this game got really fucking hard. Like they made you grind it out. Like even with the fast travel option, like I was like I can't do this. I have to like go back and actually like run the map to beef up my character some more. Like
Yeah,
and
for
then I
sure.
really hit the Sin thing hard to upgrade my weapons and my armor and accessories. Like they made you work for it for sure.
Yeah, man. So, where we left off was after you had escaped from the arena where you had been sentenced to die in the Titanos fight, but you kill it. And it is you, Doji, and Gaius standing there.
Guys, yeah.
Gaius. And he says that you guys need to go back and talk to the Moon Town guy.
He doesn't tell us who it is yet. He's just like
Oh,
we
right,
got to
right,
go
right.
there. We got to go there because
Right.
up in the storyline up into this point, Everyone says that fifth tribe just disappeared 200 years ago.
The
Nobody knows
Iskin.
where they went. The Iskin, nobody knows where they went. They just disappeared 200 years ago. And that's where they've been. And then that's where Geist takes you. And once you finally get there, you realize that the city of Iska or whatever has been moved to a spot in between dimensions. Like it doesn't exist on Earth, but it doesn't like exist in another dimension. It's like sits on a parallel plane.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right. That's right. My,
Yeah.
my brain's a little foggy because I beat it a few days ago. But
Yeah, I had problems with it. That's my bad. That's my
nah,
bad.
all good, man. All good. So you head to the moon, the Iskin town, and talk to the leader guy who Geis had been telling you need to come see him, like you said.
Yeah.
And when you talk to the dude, he's very strange. He's a very strange character. He seems like a nice
Yeah.
guy, but it's just a very odd character. And he basically tells you that the moon dragon, there's no way to get to it. No one knows how to get to it. So you got to kind of
Yeah, nobody knows where
where the
the
shrine is.
altar actually is. Because the first shrine you come across is like a temporary moon shrine.
Yeah,
Like
and
because
that's
nobody
over.
knows where it actually is.
So there's some more dialogue, and you are supposed to go and fight all of the or talk to all the dragons
Yeah.
throughout the land, and basically ask them what the hell you're supposed to do against this wind of plague coming,
The wind
winds
of
of
yeah,
destruction.
yeah, the wind of destruction.
And you're like, oh well, we're wanted criminals, so I don't know how that's gonna work. And then all of a sudden, everybody's like, hey, and all your friends show up, and they're like, nah, we're here with you, man.
Yeah.
Where did you go first? Because I went to Shinoa.
I
I
went
went into
to I went to Seagram first because I got like turned
Seagram.
around on the map looking for those markings that you use a magic item to open up like a hidden shortcut. But they weren't shortcuts. Like they were long treks in themselves.
Yeah, I think they only called them shortcuts because you used them to get around
Yeah,
the Dragon Knight barricade.
yeah, the Dragon Knight roadblocks. Like um I went to Seagram first, and when I first started into that cave, those first encounter monsters were fucking brutal. They
Yeah.
were so hard. But I think the way I did it, the first part of this part two, is I went to Seagram, then Shinoa, then Kylos.
Okay. Yeah, I went Shinoa, Seagram, Kylos.
Yeah. And I think you did it in like the order that they put it in the game because I struggled with the Seagram dragon probably more than I should have if I would have went to Shinoa first. Because after I beat that dragon at Seagram and then went to Shinoa, that dragon was nothing. That dragon was so easy.
Yeah, it
Like,
really was not that hard. You just dodge, attack its feet until the little bulbs of energy or whatever it is break apart.
yeah,
And then he turns around and you do it again. And then he just like flops his face on this big thing,
yeah,
this cliff that you run up there, you whack him, and
yeah.
repeat process.
I think the way I did it made it a little easier for me too, beating the Seagram dragon first, because until you encounter the Seagram dragon and beat him to gain the dragon powers, fast travel at this point has been disabled because of the Winds of
Yeah,
Destruction. Once I beat that Seagram dragon, my fast travel was activated again. So I was able to just jump across the map to Shinoa. I didn't have to find the shortcut. I didn't have to go around the roadblocks. I just boom, teleported there. Just jumped there really
nice.
quick. Like so the
Yeah, I
whole running the whole map was not a thing for me doing Seagram first.
I got lost on my way to Seagram. I could not remember where that fucking wall
Yeah.
was at with the symbol on it.
Yeah.
But once I found that, man, I ran there. The the Earth Dragon was easy. The Fire Dragon was easy. The Wind Dragon looked stupid as fuck.
Yeah, the like the giant frog with wings, like
Yeah,
it was a dumb looking dragon for sure. Like they
but
could have thought of something more
that
for
fight
that.
was kind of just tedious more than it was hard because he just had a
Yeah,
lot of
the
HP.
the like the shrines, doing the shrines in part one in the Titanos. for part one of the game. They were pretty easy. The first three dragons were like they weren't difficult. They weren't too bad. Um,
So in between going to these different dragons, you're getting these cutscenes dispersed throughout where basically, oh God, what was it? Rod, that Rod guy
yeah,
finds Maya,
Maya.
yeah,
Yeah,
just roaming around, and she like falls down, passes out. So he takes her back to the infirmary. He doesn't seem very happy about it. And then there's this cutaway to someone in a white like robe with a hood on standing there,
yeah,
and
yeah.
there's a black hooded person, a black robe, sitting there kneeled down, and
I
they're
think
talking about bringing
yeah.
about the winds of
This was like the
destruction.
first look at who was behind the whole assassination framing
Yeah, but they
and
didn't show
the
you their
whole.
faces yet.
No, they didn't. This was just a tease. This was just a tease, and I was like, cool. Pretty soon we're gonna find out who these fuckers are, so I know who to kill. Like
So
they make
you
you wait for a while.
after you beat the three dragons, you have to go back to Altego City, and when you get back there, there is dead people everywhere,
Well, the
and
city has been hit by like the miasma of the
that's
wind of
right, that's right.
destruction, and the city itself is in ruins. It is like crumbling apart. There's monsters and titanos in the city itself, and people are dying like crazy. People are sick. People are dying. It's pure chaos.
Yeah,
And
this
then
took a dark turn.
yeah, I know where you're going with this. It goes to another cutscene at the palace, right?
Because
Where
Sigrun runs ahead of you to
yeah,
check on the princess,
yeah.
and yeah, continue.
Once you come up on the palace, it goes to another cutscene where there's just bodies everywhere. One of like Geist's fairies comes up, and it's like it's a bloodbath. There dead people everywhere. You get up there and you run into the castle, and you find out
You well,
who is behind it.
Sigrun is laying on the ground, and you run in. I ran in fully expecting it to be Rod,
Yeah,
and
same.
I run in, and his dad's laying on the ground dead.
Yeah, and Rod is
There's
distraught, and I was like, "Well, fuck me, it wasn't them," because that's who I thought it was when we
yeah,
speculated in part one. That was my guess that it
yeah.
was going to be the Prime Minister and Raud trying to take over the Dragon Knights and trying to take over the kingdom.
So Sigrun calls out to you, and she's laying on the ground injured, and she says that it's Commander Sias.
Yeah,
And
fucking bullshit.
I took a picture of myself when I saw that because Ryan's like, I need a genuine expression, and for the video, I'll do it. I was just like,
Was I way wrong? Because I remember in
holy
part
shit.
one, I was like, you said in part one you said something. It's like, oh, I don't like that Commander Sias dude. Something just feels off about him. And I was like, nah, him and Tia, they go way back and they're good
Yeah,
people.
yeah, you talked me out of it. So then I just completely
Fucking
took that out of
Commander,
my mind.
yeah, Commander Sias. And then as you are encountering him, you launch into a fight with him that is absolutely meaningless. Like I learned this and I kind of sent you a little spoiler and a little tip. It's like, don't waste your fucking healing potes on a fight that you cannot win. No matter how many, I went through my whole inventory and barely
Dude,
touched the guy. Barely touched the guy. I unloaded so much, so many healing potions and shit.
yeah,
It
that
was
was
useless. I
a
was so mad. Yeah,
forced fail battle
yeah.
for sure.
But
And after that, he basically just makes fun of you guys for being weak, and he's gonna
yeah,
kill you. And
and then it goes to a cutscene where the white robed figure comes in and starts going on this spiel about the winds of destruction and the destruction of Altago and how it needs to be restarted because of the loss of balance and everything. And the party is just like, fuck you. Who are you? Reveal yourself.
yeah, the
And
princess, God, what was her name?
Aisha,
Aisha. God, I
yeah,
want to say
Aisha
Aaron.
is
I'm just
like,
like,
fuck you. I'm the princess. Like,
I
remove
demand
your
you show me
robe
your
and
face.
I demand to see your face. I order you to show us your face. This part fucking killed me. This
Yeah,
part killed me. Like, I was not expecting this at all. Like, I probably should have seen it coming with Commander Sias being the one who slaughtered everyone in the palace,
yeah,
but it was fucking Tia. Like,
yeah,
come
dude.
on. The two people that I was like, no, they're good people, turned out to be the ones completely behind the annihilation of the world. Like, fuck off. Like,
Dude, yeah, it was absolutely wild when she drops that robe and she's in that whole get up. I went,
Yeah, that armor
no shit.
that armor was sick though. Like her
Fuck yeah,
design in that form was amazing.
absolutely.
Yeah,
So they disappear because they need you to stay alive.
yeah,
Because if you fail in the final battle, that would be the greatest
yeah.
despair of all.
I think one of the biggest things I picked up from this cutscene, though, that goes along with the storyline is when you first get to Iskin and you're talking to the guy who is playing Elder of
Yeah,
Iska, you find out that he actually isn't like the true Elder of Iska. Nobody knows what happened with the true Elder lineage of Iska. You find out that Tia herself is like the true heir to the Elder of Iska. Like,
yeah, which was another just fucking mic drop moment. I'm like, oh
yep,
shit.
yep. And that plays into the storyline more because when you go to the individual cities and the shrines to go to the dragons, you can only enter the dragon sanctum with the true elder lineage of that tribe, if that's what you want to call them.
Yeah,
Like nobody from the just anybody couldn't open up those things. They had to be from like the bloodline of the original elders.
yeah.
So knowing that Tia is the true lineage of the elders of Iska, I was like, well, how the fuck are we going to get into the sanctum? Like at this point, like,
Yeah. So at that point, they're like, "Well, we don't know. So go see the sea dragon first."
yeah,
So then
and
you have to go
that's
back to
when
the
Aisha
Broadway battle.
leaves the elder of Shinoa, the elder of Seagram, and the guy acting as elder of Iska in command of the city, while
Yeah,
she travels with us to Ruins Island because she is the true heir of the elders of
the sea dragon.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that fight, now the sea dragon fight, I told you it wasn't hard, and I think you agree. It was just long
It was long
and it's
because
very tedious.
it was so many different hit points on that dragon. Like I'm not talking like overall health hit points. I'm just talking about specific areas you had to target. Like there must have been at least 10 or maybe a dozen different target points on that dragon. And he moved around constantly. And if you missed your window of opportunity, you only maybe got like 2 seconds of an opportunity on each point because he moved around so often. And the more damage you did, the faster he would start moving.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
Dude, he was
there
fucking.
was one point where I had to run into the cave to strike him as he's hiding in there to hit him. And while I was in there, he was like flailing his body and doing some decent damage. But there was no way I was going to beat him relatively quick just by waiting for him to swim by me. Like,
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, it was a pain in the ass, man. But
yeah.
once you leave there, I believe is when
You go
you
back
guys
to
are trying.
Iska.
You go well, yeah. You go back to Iska and the stone glows.
Yeah, the
Is that what?
stone in the center of the town starts glowing, but nobody knows how to fucking open it up. Nobody
Yeah.
knows how to open it up.
So at this
So
point in my head, I was like, when they were like, "Well, we need to go somewhere that Tia might have left something," I'm like, "Oh, we're a fucking house."
yeah, that's exactly where I went, and boom, that was
Yeah,
it. Like,
found the hairpin.
yeah,
Take
I
it
think
back to Iska.
I take that back. It wasn't the first place I checked, but it was the first thought in my mind. So from Iska, I immediately teleported back to Altago, and the first place I checked was the town circle where her flower cart was at the beginning of the game.
Yeah,
The flower cart's not there, so I was like, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna go check her house, and shit's right there. Like it's not even hard. Like
yeah. So I grabbed that fast travel back to Iska, and it lets you into the Moon Dragon Sanctum, which to
yeah,
me was the coolest looking dragon, at
it
least in its
the
first form.
first yeah the first form was definitely the coolest dragon.
The second form looked like a Digimon to me.
It did. It was totally a Digimon evolution, like for real.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
the only thing different about this sanctum compared to the other four is that you teleported in, you were immediately at the dragon encounter. You didn't have to fight your way through levels. You didn't have to solve a puzzle to go further into the dragon's lair. You teleport in, boom, dragon.
Yeah,
Encounter start. Like, let's get this done. Like,
and this was the first two-phase boss, I believe.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think you're right.
Well, no. Well, did the sea dragon have two phases?
Yes, no, actually, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The sea
Okay. So
dragon
yeah,
did. Once you knocked off all the attack points on the body, then you had to attack his head.
as he reared up and you had to like attack that thing on his head. Yes. Okay. So
Yeah,
the moon dragon's two phases, again, to me, weren't hard. Just had a lot of HP, so you just had to sit there and whack at them for a long time. After you take care of the dragons and all that, that's when the game started getting ridiculously hard, and that was when you
yeah,
had to go and take into the this giant hole in the ground opens up, and they called it the Well of Souls.
yeah. The Well of Souls. It's like a vortex of energy being sucked down to like a hidden altar, like a hidden shrine.
So you have to make your way down and fight your way through all these enemies, and hopefully you're leveling up and things as you're going down, because eventually you reach Sias
Yeah.
and you have to fight him. And to me, that was a pretty hard fight because he hit pretty fucking hard.
He hit pretty fucking hard, but I think I had the right party set up for that. I had, of course, Aldo, because you can't switch him out.
Yeah,
But I had Elk and I had Aisha, and all three of them are pretty fucking quick. And
yeah,
what I did, like what I noticed is that damage is really only done to your character unless it's like an area of effect spell.
yeah.
Like, so just I sat on Aisha, the true ranged character, and just sat back and just jump bow and arrow, just jump arrow, arrow,
Yeah.
arrow, jump arrow, arrow, arrow. Like,
My party was pretty much the same. I had Adol, Elk, but I had the Eldris of Kylos, the blind
yeah,
girl, because
yeah,
she was really powerful. I had found a really really powerful rod for her,
yeah.
so I was using that. But yeah, I did that exact same thing. Kind of just stand back and pop shots at him while the other guys went in and did dirty
Yeah,
work.
like he was difficult. It was a long fight, but it wasn't a fight that I experienced any KOs or anything. I was able to take him on my first go.
Yeah, yeah, same here. Now you go on a little further and you see Tia, and
Yeah,
she's like, "Well, if you're here, that means
yeah,
Sias is dead."
yeah. More to like that storyline though is like why Sias is confronting you first and everything like that is to for them to actually complete the ritual of the Wind of Destruction. The chosen dragon warrior, which is Adol,
Hmm.
after he acquires all of the dragon stones and everything, has to die in the Well of Souls for like the whole ritual of the Wind of Destruction to complete itself, for it to suck in the entire world of Altago and reform itself within the Well of Souls. So
Which is
their
some
ultimate
intense
end
shit.
goal is to kill just you. They don't really care about the party. Like it's just we have to kill Adol.
Yeah, but in turn
But
doing
like
that,
you were saying,
everybody will get killed.
you beat Sias, you go in, and then you see Tia in all of her magnificent armor glory, doing some crazy shit, and then she's like, "Well, I see you made it. Sias must be dead. That sucks. I told him I wanted to do this by myself, but he insisted. Like, whatever."
Yeah. So then she basically, you have to fight her, and
Yeah,
she was super easy. I was like, "There's no way this is the end," because
yeah, no, same.
I blitzed through her, and this she just like falls to the ground and looks at you after some dialogue. I don't remember exactly what was said, but she was just like, "Well, now your real fight begins," and the freaking
It's the root of
darkness.
existence.
Yeah, that's what it was
Yeah,
called. The root of
yeah.
existence comes out, and you have to fight that. Now, this fight took me about 2 hours of trying before I beat it,
This fight
and
took me like 2 days. Like
yeah. I was gonna say you had a quite more difficult time with this than I did.
one of the things that I really enjoyed about this game was the fact that your inventory was limited. You were only allowed to carry a max number of items.
Healing potions and
Yeah,
things like that.
like the healing potions were capped off at 5 each. And like party healing potions were kept at a max of like 3 each,
Yep.
and like stat boosters were kept at like 3 each. I really enjoyed that aspect of this game because they made you use them smartly. I hated that for this battle. I fucking hated it. I absolutely hated it. Like, out of all the games I've ever played, this final boss has to be one of the hardest I've ever encountered.
It
Like,
was fucking tough, dude.
I almost, like, after 2 days of trying, I finally was able to do it today. Barely. I barely survived doing it today. But I almost rage quit. I almost told you, like, yesterday, let's just fucking record. You could talk about the ending. Like, this final boss almost pissed me off to the point where I was just going to be like, this is a great game, but fuck this game. Like,
Yeah, so it splits it into 3 tiers, and you have to beat them all at the same, well, not the same time, but in one go. So,
yeah,
you have your first member party of 3 down the bottom, and you have to
yeah,
fight it,
yeah.
which I think was
And
dope.
they split the parties into one of each attack category.
Hmm.
So tier one was your bludgeoning, which was Doji, was your slashing, which was Elk, and it was your ranged, which was the Kylos Elder.
Yeah.
I forget her name,
Yeah, I can't
but
remember her name
yeah,
either.
but those, like, I hated how you couldn't pick the party members for the fight, like how they just preset it, because I didn't like playing as Doji, and I used Elk a lot, and I used the priestess a lot, but they weren't people that I used relatively often.
Yeah.
So I, like, even though I had the best possible equipment without it being the ultimate weapon at that time, because I didn't use them a lot and I didn't work on their special abilities a lot, they weren't very strong. They did like minimal damage for their weapons. Like, it sucked. It sucked so much. And one of the
Yeah.
things that I brought up to you when I was getting so frustrated with it is like, they must have the attack set of these bosses set on like a random algorithm, because like it's all about timing. And just when I think I have the timing figured out, it throws something that I was not expecting at me, and it just
Yeah.
fucked my world up. Like, no encounter out of the dozens of times I tried this fight were they ever the same. Not once.
But when it comes down to the end, it's just Adolf.
Yeah,
And you have to beat the last part of the boss as just him. And
yeah,
man, that was the part I struggled with because, like I had burned through my potions and stuff by that point. So having to
yeah,
do it over again and over again and over again, finally I got to the point where I made it. And finally, you beat it. And the thing falls fucking dead. Tia is like standing there and she says, this whole place is going to collapse because it's no longer needed. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It needs to go away. So she's like, leave me here. And they're like, no, come with us. And
yeah,
because she did all of this because Maya got sick.
yeah. That's the only reason, selfish bitch. Like, I'm going to end the world because my child, my adopted little sister is sick and is going to die.
Yep.
Granted that she is stricken with a fever that comes from your people. Like,
Yeah, right. So you leave the Well of Souls and it starts to disappear, and I believe that's when the 5 dragons show themselves
yeah.
and
This
talk
is
to the whole
yeah, this
party.
is all just a cutscene too.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
it was like a 20-minute, 25-minute cutscene to end the game.
And um, Tia starts explaining that she's part of the
Yeah.
the
The
whole
dragon
cycle
yeah, the
because the
dragons come
dragon
back, they take the dragon stones, and then they're like, you fix the balance. Like, we're like, the root of existence doesn't exist anymore because you ended it. The wind of destruction is gone. There's no need for us. So deuces.
basically
Like,
the gods are like it's now in the hands of y'all.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And Tia is standing there and she starts explaining that she can't come back home because she's part of this cycle. And it starts like these things start coming off of her. Like she's,
yeah,
and then it cuts to a scene of Maya who just like everyone's better. Everyone that's sick in the towns, it goes away, and they
Yeah.
all get up. Cruci starts talking about how she feels better, and
Yeah.
Maya just sits up and gets up and runs, and
Yeah.
Raud chases after her. So she ends up coming running up on you guys standing
Yeah.
out there, and she runs up to Tia.
Little background. Maya has been mute this entire game. Like, she doesn't say anything. She just
Yeah,
grunts. Like,
yeah. She goes,
yeah.
ah,
She
like goes
she
like,
she runs up to Tia and finally says her first fucking words. And I knew that bitch could talk. I knew it. I even told you, like, at the beginning of the game when we first started this, it's like, no, she's not deaf. I remember, like, a part of the dialogue where it says, oh, she probably just doesn't talk because of a traumatic experience. Like,
well, yeah. So she goes running up and grabs Tia and is just not saying anything, and finally she says, Tia, and
yeah,
then she says, "Don't leave me."
yeah.
And it was really fucking sad. I started tearing up a little bit, and Tia tells her that she'll be fine.
That's how I
Yada
know
yada.
you were more invested in the storyline because when she said Tia, don't leave me, I was like, fucking bitch. Like, you could have talked this whole time, but you just chose not to. No, fuck you. Like,
No, man, yeah, I was totally invested in it.
yeah.
But that's basically the end. Everyone helps
They,
rebuild
yeah,
Altago.
all of the tribes are working together to rebuild Altago, like city by city. I think it even says that Adol and Doji stick around to help out before they bounce out. Like,
Yeah, but the call of adventuring is always nagging at the
yeah,
tail of that Adol.
yeah,
And that wrapped it up, man. That was E7. I
yeah,
mean, that's the ending, kind of everyone happily ever after. And
yeah,
he moves on to go find other adventures elsewhere.
yeah.
Let's see, what would you give it? 1 out of 10 swords. I don't know.
I don't know either. There wasn't really anything like game specific to this. It was like the currency was gold, and it was potions and dragons. Like there was nothing really like. I guess we can rate it Titanos.
Okay,
Like
1 out of 10 Titanos.
um, I'm probably gonna give this game a solid 7. Like it was good.
Really?
Yeah, it was good. Like it's got a story. Like you know me, storylines rarely catch my attention, but this one caught
Yeah.
me. This one caught me. The gameplay was great. I liked the hack and slash system of fighting. Um, but just like how easy part one was, and then that fucking boss at the end of the game just that's probably driving down my score. Like how fucking hard that bastard was.
Yeah. I gave this an 8.25
Yeah, that's solid. That's a good
because
score.
I thought it was a really good story. I just thought
Yeah.
it was lacking in some places, but that's not the game's fault. It was a PSP game originally, you
Yeah.
know? So it's like,
Yeah.
I try to take that into account when I'm thinking about, like, I'm not judging this game for graphics for one, because it was a PSP game. You know what I mean? Saying it wasn't trying to be a beautiful fucking game
Yeah.
for PC standards, at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, fucking E7. I'm looking forward to getting more E's games to come up in the list. I think it'll be
Yeah.
good.
They'll be in there somewhere.
All right. Well, I guess that means we need to hit up our mechanical friend. Hey, Steamy. Hey, buddy. It's that time of the week.
Yeah. How was that vacation?
Yeah, you must have enjoyed it, man. Did you do some browsing? I saw you on Twitter talking to people. It's always nice of you to get on there and do that. But we need a number, man. So can you pop us one out? All right, it's looking like he gave us 513, which, according to my list that I have pulled up right here, is Sid Meier's Pirates.
Nice.
I know that is a classic. I have never played it, but
I've
I love
never
Pirates.
played it. I've never played it, but I love the Civilization franchise.
Oh yeah, dude. The Civ franchise is fantastic, and
Yeah.
this is a little different, but I think it's.
But it's
You know,
pirates.
But yeah, exactly. It's Pirates. It just gives me an excuse to just crank Ailstorm and play this.
Yeah. No, that's probably what I will do too. Very similar. Like, just mute the game audio or the game music and just play Ailstorm the entire time I'm playing.
Well, awesome, man. I am looking forward to playing that. And we hope that you all were looking forward to joining us talking about that on the next episode. And I guess that just leaves social media. So that would be facebook.com/The Steam Machine Podcast, or you can find us on Twitter at Steam_podcast. And as always, we'd like to request that you go on iTunes and leave us a 5-star review, because that helps us climb up the ranks of gaming podcasts, which there are sure a ton of. So, anything else to say about E7, my brother?
No, I'm ready to pillage, plunder, and find some booty.
Yes, it's all about the booty. Alright, well, then that has been episode 8 of the Steam Machine Podcast. My name is Dalton. He's Ryan. Until next time, guys, take it easy.